The elevator doors opened, the suits walked in, and for 8 seasons, LA Law redefined what legal drama could be. But behind the polished boardrooms and courtroom victories, nothing was polished at all. Actors refused to film love scenes together. One cast member's firing sparked a lawsuit that changed television forever. And the show's most infamous death scene was never supposed to happen. These are 20 secrets about LA law that stayed locked in the vault for decades. The trial begins now. Number 20. The show's creator was banned from his own set.
Perhaps with some actor's hubris, went into it thinking that I could get away with it.
Steven Bochco created LA Law. He developed the concept. He hired the writers. He cast the actors. Then, NBC and 20th Century Fox kicked him out of his own show. It happened during season 1. Bochco was also running Hill Street Blues, another groundbreaking drama. The network thought he was spread too thin, not giving LA Law enough attention. But the real reason was deeper. Bochco fought constantly with network executives. He refused notes. He ignored suggestions. He'd screen episodes for them and then walk out before they could give feedback. The final straw came when he wanted to do an episode entirely in Spanish with no subtitles. The network said absolutely not. Bochco filmed it anyway. They pulled it before it could air. And they gave him an ultimatum: focus on one show or lose both. Bochco chose Hill Street Blues. He signed over creative control of LA Law to his partner, Terry Louise Fisher. But he was forbidden from entering the LA Law production offices or attending tapings. For 7 more seasons, the show he created ran without him. He'd watch episodes at home like any other viewer. And when LA Law won the Emmy for Best Drama in 1989, Bochco wasn't invited on stage. Because in Hollywood, you can create something iconic and still be erased from its history. Number 19. Harry Hamlin was cast because he lost a different role. Harry Hamlin wasn't supposed to be Michael Cusack. He wasn't even supposed to audition for LA Law. He'd spent months competing for the lead in a big studio film. Multiple callbacks, screen tests, chemistry reads. The director loved him. The producers loved him. Then, at the last minute, they went with someone else. Someone younger, someone cheaper. Hamlin was devastated. His agent told him about LA Law, a new legal drama, ensemble cast, network television. Hamlin didn't want it. He wanted movies. He wanted to be a leading man, not one lawyer among many. But his agent pushed. Just take the meeting. You need work. Hamlin showed up to the audition angry, resentful, barely prepared. He read the sides with an edge, a bitterness that wasn't in the script. And the producers saw something. Not the charming leading man he was trying to be. The complicated, morally ambiguous lawyer he accidentally revealed. They offered him the role that day. Hamlin almost said no. Then he looked at his bank account and said yes. He signed for 7 seasons, won a Golden Globe nomination, became one of the most respected actors on television, all because he lost a movie role he can't even remember the name of anymore. Number 18. The elevator scene was filmed in a real working building. Law is famous for its elevator scenes. Those moments between floors where characters had private conversations, quiet revelations, unexpected encounters. Most shows would build an elevator set on a soundstage. Controlled environment, perfect acoustics, no surprises. LA Law filmed in an actual office building in Century City. A working building with real tenants, real businesses, real people trying to go about their day. The production would shut down one elevator for an hour at a time. They'd film a scene, then release it back into service, then grab it again for the next take. Chaos. Real people would walk up to the elevator doors during filming. Security would have to redirect them. Sometimes, tenants would complain loudly enough that the sound had to be scrapped. One time during season 3, an executive from a law firm on the 20th floor got stuck in the elevator that the production was using. He had a meeting. He was furious. He threatened to sue. The production moved him to another elevator and gave him a cameo as an extra to shut him up. That scene made the final cut. A real lawyer appears in frame for 3 seconds because he threatened legal action against a fake law firm. The actors hated filming there. Too unpredictable, too many variables. But the producers insisted because that elevator felt real in a way a set never could. And sometimes authenticity is worth the headache. Number 17, Corbin Burnson and Jill Eikenberry refused to film together. After season 4, Arnie Becker and Ann Kelsey, two of the show's central characters, founding partners of Mackenzie Brackman. On screen, they had to interact constantly. Partner meetings, case discussions, firm politics. Off-screen, Corbin Burnson and Jill Eikenberry despised each other. The tension started small. Different acting methods, different work ethics. Burnson was loose, improvisational, always trying new things. Eikenberry was precise, rehearsed, meticulous. They clashed during line readings, but the real break came during season 4. An episode required them to film an emotional scene together, an argument about firm direction that was supposed to feel raw and real. They filmed it, and it was too real. Whatever they were saying to each other in character bled into actual anger. Someone said something between takes that crossed a line. No one will say what, but after that day, they stopped speaking. The writers noticed immediately. Scenes that used to crackle with tension now felt dead. Because Burnson and Eikenberry wouldn't even look at each other, so the writers made a choice. They stopped writing scenes with just the two of them. If Arnie and Ann had to interact, there was always a third person in the room, a buffer, a distraction. For 4 more seasons, 2 leads on the same show filmed in the same building and never worked alone together again. The audience never noticed, but the cast did, and they learned to write around the silence. Number 16. The show was sued by real lawyers for defamation. Season 2, Episode 11. A storyline about a sleazy personal injury attorney who staged accidents to generate cases. Ambulance chaser, fraud, everything the legal profession claims to hate. The episode aired. 3 days later, a law firm in Los Angeles filed a lawsuit against NBC. They claimed the character was based on their senior partner. That specific details matched his practice. That clients were calling asking if he was the guy from the TV show. The lawsuit demanded that the episode be pulled from syndication and that the firm receive damages for harm to their reputation. NBC fought back. They argued the character was fictional, that any resemblance was coincidental, that satire is protected. The case dragged on for 2 years. Depositions, discovery. The writers had to hand over their research notes. And here's what those notes revealed. The character was based on that lawyer. The writers had interviewed people who had worked with him. They'd pulled details from real cases. They'd changed the name but kept everything else. NBC settled quietly. The amount was never disclosed. The episode stayed in syndication, but with a modified disclaimer. And the writers learned a lesson. You can base a character on reality, but you better change enough details that no one can prove it, because sometimes the truth is expensive. Number 15. Susan Dey demanded equal pay and got written out instead. Grace Van Owen was one of the show's breakout characters, the idealistic prosecutor who believed in justice even when the system failed. Susan Dey played her with intelligence and intensity. By season 4, she was arguably the show's most popular character. So, when contract negotiations came up, Dey asked for something radical, equal pay with the male leads. Harry Hamlin and Corbin Burnson were making significantly more per episode despite Dey having just as much screen time and carrying major storylines. Dey's agent presented the case. The producers said no. They offered a small raise, 10%. Dey refused. She held firm. Equal pay or she walks. The producers didn't believe her. They thought she was bluffing. They thought she needed the show more than the show needed her. They were wrong. Dey walked. Season 5 opened with Grace Van Owen written off the show. 1 line of dialogue. She took a job in Washington. That's it. The fans were furious. Ratings dropped. NBC panicked and tried to get Dey back. She refused. She'd rather not work than accept being valued less than her male co-stars. She didn't act again for 2 years, but she didn't regret it. She later said, "I wasn't going to teach my daughter that women should accept less for the same work." Ella Law replaced her with another actress, another character, but they never replaced what Dey represented, a woman who knew her worth and refused to compromise it. Number 14. The writers stole storylines from real cases they were supposed to be covering as journalists. Before LA Law, several of the show's writers worked as legal journalists, covering trials, interviewing lawyers, writing about the justice system. When they joined the show's writing staff, they brought something valuable: access, sources inside courtrooms, prosecutors who'd talk off the record, defense attorneys who'd share stories they couldn't tell publicly. And the writers used everything. A season 3 episode about a custody battle was pulled directly from a case one writer had covered 2 years earlier. Names changed, details altered, but the core story, identical. A season 5 episode about police corruption came from sealed court documents that a writer's source had leaked. The people involved in the real cases started recognizing themselves. Some were flattered, others were furious. One defense attorney called the showrunner and said, "That was my case. You stole my closing argument word for word." The writer's response was simple: prove it. Because here's the thing, legal arguments aren't copyrighted. Case facts are public record. If a writer changes enough details, there's no legal recourse. It's inspiration, not theft. But ethically, it was murky. These writers had been trusted as journalists. They'd been given access because people thought they were documenting the system, not mining it for television content. The line between reporting and exploitation had blurred, and LA Law ran on that blurred line for 8 seasons. Number 13. Diana Muldaur quit because she was playing a character she hated. Rosalind Shays was television's most hated lawyer. Cold, calculating, ruthless. She'd destroy careers without blinking. She'd manipulate colleagues. She'd win at any cost. And Diana Muldaur, who played her, couldn't stand it. Muldaur was a veteran actress, respected, professional. When she was cast in season 4, she was told Rosalind would be complex, morally gray, a worthy adversary for the firm. What she got was a villain, pure and simple. Every script made Rosalind worse, more cruel, more heartless, more cartoonish. Muldaur complained to the writers. She wanted nuance, humanity, moments where Rosalind showed vulnerability or doubt. The writers refused. They loved having a character everyone could hate. Ratings went up when Rosalind appeared. She was the villain the show needed. But Muldaur felt trapped playing someone she found morally repugnant. By season 5, she'd had enough. She told the producers she wanted out. They tried to convince her to stay, offered more money, promised character growth. Muldaur said no. She'd rather leave than continue playing a monster. So, the writers gave her television's most memorable exit. Rosalind Shays stepped into an empty elevator shaft and fell to her death. Sudden, shocking, ridiculous. Muldaur filmed the scene and never came back. She later said it was the best decision she ever made, even if it meant dying in the most absurd way possible. Number 12. The show's law firm was based on a real firm that threatened to sue. Mackenzie Brackman wasn't fictional. Not entirely. The writers based it on a real Los Angeles law firm, a mid-sized practice with about 40 attorneys, mix of corporate work and litigation, prestigious but not elite, the kind of firm that represented the city's upper middle class. The writers toured the real firm during development. They interviewed partners. They sat in on meetings. They took notes on everything: office layout, case types, internal politics. Then they created Mackenzie Brackman as a barely disguised version. Same number of partners, similar specialties, even some of the office quirks matched. When the show premiered, lawyers at the real firm started getting calls, clients asking if they were the firm from TV, other attorneys making jokes, bar association members commenting. At first, the firm was flattered. Free publicity, name recognition. Then season 2 happened, an episode where Mackenzie Brackman partners engaged in billing fraud, overcharging clients, padding hours. The real firm was not amused. They sent NBC a cease and desist letter. They claimed the show was damaging their reputation by association. NBC's legal team responded with a simple defense. Mackenzie Brackman is clearly fictional. Any similarities are coincidental. The firm backed down. But they stopped cooperating with the show. No more access, no more interviews. The writers didn't care. They already had everything they needed. And Mackenzie Brackman kept running for 6 more seasons. Number 11. Jimmy Smits was hired after his audition made everyone cry. Victor Cifuentes wasn't in the original pilot. The character was created after NBC told the producers the cast was too white. They needed diversity, but they didn't want it to feel forced or tokenized. They wanted a fully realized character who happened to be Latino. Dozens of actors auditioned. Most played Victor as either too aggressive or too passive, trying too hard to prove something or not trying at all. Then Jimmy Smits walked in. He read one scene, a monologue about defending a client everyone assumed was guilty, about believing in the system even when the system didn't believe in people who looked like him. Smits delivered it quietly. No grandstanding, no melodrama, just truth. When he finished, the room was silent. One of the producers was crying, not because the scene was sad, because it was real, because Smits had tapped into something deeper than the script. The lived experience of being underestimated, of having to prove yourself twice as hard for half the recognition. They offered him the role before he left the building. Smits became one of the show's most beloved characters. He stayed for 6 seasons, won an Emmy, and proved that representation isn't about checking a box. It's about giving talented actors the chance to bring their full humanity to the screen. Because when Jimmy Smits made that room cry, he wasn't acting, he was testifying. Number 10. The show's most romantic couple was written to hate each other. Arnie Becker and Roxanne Melman. On paper, they should have destroyed each other. He was the firm's divorce attorney, a womanizer who cycled through relationships like case files. She was a family therapist brought in to consult on custody cases. The writers planned a season-long antagonistic relationship. Oil and water, constant conflict. Corbin Burnson and Susan Rattan filmed their first scene together in season 2. A consultation that was supposed to be hostile, full of professional contempt. But something happened on set. Chemistry. Real, undeniable, electric chemistry. The kind you can't fake or force. They delivered the antagonistic dialogue, but underneath it was something else entirely. The director saw it immediately. After the take, he pulled the writer aside and said, "We need to rewrite this. They're going to fall in love." The writer was resistant. The whole arc was planned. Months of storylines built around their mutual dislike. But the director insisted. And he was right. Arnie and Roxanne became the show's most compelling relationship. Not despite the original plan, but because the actors found something the writers hadn't seen. By season 5, they were married. By season 6, they were the emotional center of the show. All because 2 actors ignored what was on the page and followed what was in the room. Sometimes the best stories aren't written, they're discovered. Number 9. Michelle Green was hired off the street with no acting experience. Abby Perkins wasn't supposed to exist. The character was created in season 2 as a throwaway role, a young associate, maybe 3 lines, maybe 2 episodes. The casting director saw hundreds of actresses, all trained, all experienced, all wrong. Then Michelle Green walked past the casting office. She wasn't there to audition. She was a folk singer, musician, trying to drop off a demo tape for the show's music supervisor. The casting director saw her through the window. Something about her presence. She called Green inside and asked if she'd ever acted. Green said no. Never taken a class, never been on a set, never even thought about it. The casting director handed her sides anyway. "Just read it, like you're talking to a friend." Green read, and she was terrible. Stiff, awkward, clearly uncomfortable. But there was something underneath the nerves, an authenticity, a realness that trained actors sometimes lose. The casting director worked with her for an hour. By the end, Green was starting to find it. They brought her back the next day, then the next. After 5 auditions, they offered her the role. Green panicked. She had no idea what she was doing, but she said yes. And Abby Perkins went from a 2-episode guest role to a series regular for 6 seasons. Green learned acting on the job, in front of millions of viewers. Some nights she'd go home and cry because she felt so out of her depth, but she stayed. And she proved that sometimes raw talent matters more than training. Number 8, the show accidentally influenced real legal decisions. Season 4, Episode 18, The Last Gasp, a storyline about a terminally ill patient's right to die. At the time, physician-assisted suicide was barely discussed in mainstream media. The episode presented arguments from both sides: medical ethics, religious objections, personal autonomy. It aired in March 1990. 3 months later, Dr. Jack Kevorkian assisted in his first publicly acknowledged death. The media coverage referenced the LA Law episode. Lawyers arguing cases about end-of-life care started citing it. Not as legal precedent, obviously, but as a cultural touchstone, a framework for discussing impossible questions. By 1994, Oregon was debating its Death with Dignity Act. Several legislators mentioned the episode during floor debates. They said it had helped them understand the complexity of the issue. The episode didn't create the movement, but it legitimized the conversation. It brought the debate into living rooms across America, and it proved that television could do more than entertain. It could educate. It could change minds. The writers never intended to influence policy. They just wanted to tell a compelling story about a difficult subject. But sometimes stories are more powerful than arguments. Number 7. The cast threatened to strike over a sexual harassment storyline. Season 5, Episode 12. The writers pitched a storyline about workplace sexual harassment at Mackenzie Brackman, a senior partner making unwanted advances toward a junior associate. The episode would show the power dynamics, the fear of reporting, and the retaliation when she finally spoke up. The female cast members read the script, and they had questions. Who wrote this? How was it researched? What consultants were brought in? The answers were uncomfortable. The episode was written entirely by male writers. No consultants. No sensitivity readers. Just men imagining how workplace harassment might feel. The actresses met privately. Jill Eikenberry, Susan Rutan, Michelle Green, and several others. They drafted a letter to the producers. Either bring in women to rewrite this, or we don't film it. The producers were shocked. This was the early 90s. Actors didn't refuse scripts, especially not multiple actors in concert, but the women held firm. This wasn't about ego or creative differences. This was about responsibility. If LA Law was going to tackle sexual harassment, it had to be done right. The producers agreed. They brought in 2 female writers as consultants. The actresses sat in on rewrites. They shared their own experiences. They made sure every detail felt real, not imagined. The episode that finally aired was completely different from the original script, and it was devastating, powerful, true, because the women who'd lived through harassment made sure their voices weren't erased from a story about being silenced. Number 6. Harry Hamlin and Susan Day's on-screen romance destroyed their off-screen friendship. Michael Cusack and Grace Van Owen, the show's central love story. Seasons of will, they won't they tension. Passionate arguments, stolen moments, a relationship that felt epic and real. Harry Hamlin and Susan Day were close friends before LA Law. They'd known each other for years, trusted each other. When they were both cast, they were excited to work together. Then the romance storylines started, and something shifted. The intimate scenes were awkward. The passionate moments felt forced, not because they couldn't act, but because they were too close. There was no mystery, no discovery, just 2 friends trying to pretend they were falling in love. It created a weird dynamic. On screen, Michael and Grace were desperate for each other. Off screen, Hamlin and Day started avoiding each other between takes. They stopped having lunch together, stopped talking about anything personal. The friendship became professional, polite, distant. By season 4, when Day left the show, they hadn't had a real conversation in months. Years later, Hamlin admitted in an interview that filming those romantic scenes killed their friendship. We were so focused on making it look real that we forgot how to be real with each other, he said. They haven't spoken since she left the show. Number 5. The show's sets were recycled from failed pilots. The Mackenzie Brackman offices looked expensive. Polished wood, glass walls, designer furniture. The courtrooms looked authentic. Real judges' benches, jury boxes, gallery seating. But none of it was built for LA Law. The production was low budget for a drama series. NBC didn't want to invest heavily until they knew it would succeed. So, the production designer got creative. He went to the network's storage facility, where sets from failed pilots were kept. Dozens of shows that never made it past 1 episode. He found pieces everywhere. The main conference table came from a failed political drama. The reception desk came from a medical show that tested poorly. The courtroom was from a crime pilot that got rejected. Even the elevator was recycled from another show's office building set. The designer mixed and matched, repainted, rearranged. He made everything look cohesive, like it all belonged together. The cast had no idea they were working on sets from dead shows. But the crew joked about it constantly. They called it the graveyard of failed dreams. Every time an actor sat at the conference table, they were sitting where another actor had tried and failed to launch a series. But LA Law succeeded. It ran for 8 seasons on sets built from failure, and maybe that's the perfect metaphor for the legal profession, taking pieces that didn't work and building something that does. Number 4. Alan Rachins was almost fired 3 times for improvising. Douglas Brackman Jr., the managing partner, uptight, by the book, always trying to maintain order in a chaotic firm. Alan Ratchins played him with precision, but he also played him with constant improvisation. Ratchins would add lines, change blocking, insert reactions that weren't scripted. Directors loved it, writers hated it. By season 2, the head writer had complained to producers 3 separate times. Ratchins is rewriting scenes. He's changing my dialogue. He's making the character different from what I wrote. Fire him. The producers watched the episodes, and they realized Ratchins was right. His improvisations made Brackman funnier, more human, more interesting than what was on the page. The stammering, the exasperated sighs, the little moments of vulnerability under the rigid exterior. All Ratchins, all unscripted. So the producers made a deal with the writers. Let Ratchins improvise during filming. If it works, keep it. If it doesn't, cut it. The writers agreed reluctantly, and Ratchins kept improvising. By season 5, the writers were writing specifically for his improvisational style, leaving spaces and scenes for him to fill, trusting him to find moments they couldn't write. Brackman became one of the show's most beloved characters, not despite the improvisation, because of it. And the head writer who demanded Ratchins be fired 3 times eventually admitted, "I was wrong. He knew the character better than I did." Number 3. The show was boycotted by the California Bar Association. Season 6, Episode 9, On the Toad Again, a storyline about a defense attorney who knowingly allows perjured testimony to free a guilty client. The episode showed the attorney celebrating the win privately while the victim's family grieved. It was dark, uncomfortable, morally complex. The California Bar Association was furious. They issued a public statement condemning the episode. They claimed it portrayed lawyers as unethical and willing to subvert justice for personal gain. They said it damaged the profession's reputation. They asked their members to boycott the show, stop watching, stop advertising, stop any association with LA law. The boycott lasted 6 weeks. Ratings barely budged because viewers didn't care what the Bar Association thought. They wanted stories that challenged them, made them think, and forced them to question their assumptions about justice and morality. The producers never apologized. They never softened future storylines. If anything, they leaned harder into moral ambiguity. Because LA Law wasn't interested in making lawyers look good, it was interested in making them look real. And real lawyers, like real people, sometimes make choices that can't be justified, only explained. The Bar Association eventually dropped the boycott, not because the show changed, because they realized they were fighting a battle they couldn't win. You can't boycott truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Number 2. The finale was rewritten after September 11th changed everything.
Thank you. What would you be looking for in the way of compensation?
72.5.
The original series finale was filmed in August 2001, a sprawling episode about the firm handling a corporate merger. Big money, high stakes, the ultimate representation of LA Law's focus on the intersection of law, business, and personal ambition. Then, September 11th happened. The episode was scheduled to air in October, but after the attacks, everything felt different. The world had shifted. Priorities had changed. An episode about corporate greed and legal maneuvering felt tone-deaf, obscene even. The showrunner made a decision. Reshoot it. They had 3 weeks. The budget was gone. The sets were being torn down. But they rewrote the entire finale. The new version focused on a pro bono case, a family fighting deportation, legal aid, justice for people who couldn't afford lawyers. It wasn't about winning big. It was about showing up for the powerless. The cast came back without being paid. The crew worked overtime for free. Everyone understood that the original finale no longer fit the world they were living in. The new finale aired in November 2001. It was quieter, more intimate, less triumphant, and it felt right. Not because it was better written, because it acknowledged that sometimes the story you planned isn't the story you need to tell. Sometimes history rewrites your ending, and you have to be humble enough to let it. Number 1. Steven Bochco watched every episode alone and called the writers after. Remember, Bochco was banned from his own show, locked out, not allowed on set, not invited to meetings. For 7 seasons, he had no official connection to LA law, but he never stopped caring. Every week, when a new episode aired, Bochco would watch it alone in his home office. No family, no friends, just him and the show he created, but couldn't touch. and then he'd call. Not the producers, the writers, junior staff members who had no power but did the actual work. He'd give notes, not corrections, not criticisms, just thoughts. That scene in Act 2, the pacing felt rushed, but the dialogue in Act 3 was brilliant. The writers were terrified at first. Was he going to report them? Get them fired for talking to him? But Bochco never did. He just wanted to stay connected to the show, to feel like he was still part of it, even from a distance. Some writers ignored his calls, others started looking forward to them. By season 8, there was an underground network, writers who would secretly consult with Bochco before scripts were finalized. He became a ghost mentor, guiding the show he couldn't officially touch. When LA Law ended in 1994, Bochco threw a party. He invited everyone, cast, crew, executives who'd banned him, and he gave a speech. I was locked out of this show, but I never stopped loving it. Thank you for making it something I could be proud of, even when I wasn't allowed to be part of it. People cried, because they realized he'd been there all along, watching, caring, protecting his creation from the shadows. Bonus fact, the show's opening theme almost got the composer sued. The iconic LA Law theme, that saxophone, that driving beat, that sound that instantly said prestige television. Composer Mike Post created it in one afternoon, but he borrowed heavily from a jazz composition by another artist. He changed the key, altered the melody slightly, added orchestration, but the core structure was recognizable. The original composer heard it when the show premiered. He knew immediately, that's my song. He contacted his lawyer, prepared to sue NBC for copyright infringement. Then something unexpected happened. His phone started ringing. Record labels wanting to re-release his old albums. Jazz clubs asking him to perform. Music teachers asking about his work. The LA Law theme had made him relevant again. So he dropped the lawsuit. Instead, he negotiated a royalty deal. Every time the theme played, he got a small percentage. For 14 years, across 8 seasons, and endless syndication, that composer made money from a show he never worked on. And Mike Post kept the credit, because sometimes theft becomes collaboration, if everyone profits. And sometimes the best legal outcome isn't winning in court, it's finding a way for everyone to win. LA Law ran for 8 seasons, 171 episodes, 15 Emmy Awards. It changed how television portrayed lawyers, made legal drama smart and sexy, and proved that audiences would watch people argue about the law if the characters were interesting enough. But behind the polished suits and courtroom victories, it was chaos. Feuds, firings, lawsuits, a creator locked out of his own show, actors who refused to work together, writers stealing from real cases, all of it hidden behind the veneer of prestige television. And maybe that's the most LA Law thing of all, looking perfect while falling apart. If you love discovering what really happened at Mackenzie Brackman, go ahead and like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which secret shocked you most. Thanks for watching. And remember, behind every great legal victory is a messy truth nobody wants to admit.